There's very few people who get the opportunity to say that they have a logo and to make the impact that she makes, not just, I think, in the sport, but globally, just by being who she is. She's a connector. She brings people together. And, I think for us to be a part of that, and whether it's, as simple as being able to celebrate all of these things with her, or, as much as walking out into the arena and seeing the whiteout on the chairs out there, it's really cool. And it's really special and shoot, I'm talking about it right now, and just feeling the intense gratitude for me.
The first images of Caitlin Clark's new Nike logo didn't come with a dramatic announcement or a championship celebration. Instead, they sparked something that had been building for months. Even people closest to the game couldn't hide what they were feeling. One speaker described the logo as really unique and very creative, while fans called it simple, yet it speaks a lot. Another described Clark as a connector who brings people together, suggesting the logo represented more than just another piece of sports apparel. Before anyone knew how the launch would unfold, one question was already taking over the conversation: why had this release become such a highly anticipated moment? That anticipation didn't appear overnight. Ever since Nike signed Caitlin Clark, fans had been waiting to see what the company's first signature branding would actually look like. Instead of rushing a release, Nike took its time, allowing curiosity to build with every passing month. By the time the official CC logo was finally revealed, expectations had reached a level where even a single t-shirt launch was being treated as a major event across social media. The design itself quickly became part of the discussion. The interlocking CC logo gave fans something recognizable and easy to identify with, and reactions focused just as much on its appearance as the fact that it had finally arrived. Across interviews and online discussions, people praised its clean, simple look, while others talked about what it could represent for Clark's growing brand. At this point, the conversation wasn't centered on numbers or sales. It was about what the logo symbolized after such a long wait. As launch night approached, the excitement only continued to grow. Fans prepared for midnight, refreshing Nike's website and watching for the moment the collection would finally become available. The anticipation surrounding the release had created an atmosphere that felt far bigger than an ordinary merchandise drop. What nobody knew yet was whether that excitement would simply translate into strong interest, or whether the launch itself was about to become the biggest story of the night. When the clock struck midnight, the waiting was over. Fans immediately rushed to Nike's website, hoping to secure one of the newly released Caitlin Clark logo shirts before they disappeared. According to the transcript, interest surged almost instantly, and reports quickly began circulating that many shoppers were struggling to complete their purchases. As excitement spread online, screenshots of checkout errors and loading screens started appearing across social media, leaving many wondering whether Nike had expected this level of demand. Several of the biggest claims from launch night remain unverified, but they became a major part of the online conversation. The transcript reports that Nike's website experienced extremely heavy traffic, with some customers allegedly being removed from the checkout process while others encountered error messages. It also claims that both the website and the Nike app experienced technical issues during the rush. While those reports fueled the narrative of a chaotic launch, the exact scale of the traffic and its impact has not been independently confirmed within the source material. What is clear from the transcript is that demand extended beyond simply purchasing the shirt. Within a short time, resale listings began appearing on platforms such as StockX, eBay, and GOAT, with asking prices significantly higher than the original retail price. Whether those listings reflected completed sales or optimistic pricing from resellers isn't established in the source, but their appearance reinforced the perception that the release had become highly sought after almost immediately. At the same time, fan reactions continued to build momentum. Social media filled with posts from people celebrating successful purchases, while others shared their disappointment after missing out or encountering technical problems. Every new screenshot, reaction, and resale listing added to the sense that this was becoming much bigger than a routine merchandise drop. Instead of the conversation slowing down after the launch, it only seemed to grow, raising an even bigger question: if the reaction was this intense within the first few hours, how far would the excitement spread beyond launch night? As the first wave of excitement settled, it became clear that the conversation wasn't staying within basketball circles. According to the transcript, interest in Caitlin Clark's Nike logo quickly spread across social media and into international markets, turning what began as a merchandise launch into a much broader discussion. fans from different countries posted their reactions online, while news coverage and sports programs began highlighting the release as one of the biggest stories surrounding women's basketball at the time. The transcript also points to real fan interviews that help explain why the response felt different. One fan described the logo as really unique and praised its creativity, while another said, "It's simple yet it speaks a lot." Those reactions weren't focused on sales figures or resale prices. Instead, they reflected a personal connection to Clark's growing influence and suggested that, for many supporters, the logo represented something bigger than a new piece of apparel. Another interview in the source expanded on that idea even further. A speaker described Clark as a connector who brings people together, not only through basketball but through the excitement surrounding moments like this. That perspective helps explain why the launch generated conversation well beyond Indiana Fever fans. Rather than discussing only the product itself, people were debating what Clark's growing popularity could mean for the future of women's sports and its ability to attract mainstream attention. The transcript also reports that discussions surrounding the launch appeared across multiple regions, including Europe and Asia, with claims of strong interest in several international markets. While the exact scale of that global demand isn't independently verified within the source, the widespread online conversation is presented as evidence that the release had become an international talking point rather than a local sports story. By this stage, the focus had shifted noticeably. The discussion was no longer just about whether fans liked the logo, it had become a conversation about Caitlin Clark's influence, the visibility of women's basketball, and whether this moment represented something much larger than a single merchandise release. That growing attention also introduced a new debate. Was this simply a successful launch, or had it become one of the most talked about branding moments in recent sports history? As the launch continued dominating online conversations, the discussion gradually shifted away from the shirt itself and toward a much bigger question: how significant was this moment really? Throughout the transcript, commentators and media personalities repeatedly compared Caitlin Clark's release with some of the biggest names in sports marketing. Those comparisons fueled excitement, but they also sparked debate about where enthusiasm ended and evidence began. Several comparisons presented in the transcript should be understood as commentary or reported claims rather than verified conclusions. For example, the narration suggests the launch generated attention comparable to, or even greater than, releases associated with athletes such as Michael Jordan and LeBron James. These statements are presented to illustrate the perceived scale of the moment, but the transcript does not provide independently verified data confirming those comparisons. The same pattern appears when discussing other sports brands and athletes. The transcript claims that executives from competing companies were reacting to the launch and that rival merchandise lines generated less discussion online. These accounts contribute to the story's sense of momentum, yet they remain reported claims within the source rather than confirmed facts supported by public statements or official documents. What is supported by the source is that the launch became a major topic of conversation. Real interview clips emphasize Clark's growing influence, with one speaker describing her as a connector who brings people together. That observation helps explain why the release attracted attention beyond basketball fans. For many people, the discussion wasn't simply about buying a t-shirt, it was about what Clark's popularity might represent for women's sports, athlete branding, and future endorsement opportunities. This difference between confirmed events and online interpretation is what turned the launch into a genuine debate. One side viewed the excitement as evidence that Caitlin Clark had reached a new level of cultural influence. Others questioned whether some of the biggest headlines and viral comparisons reflected measurable reality or the natural amplification that often occurs on social media during high-profile releases. That distinction became increasingly important as even larger claims about the launch continued circulating online, making it necessary to separate what could be verified from what remained speculation. By this point, the launch had generated countless headlines, viral posts, and bold claims. But as the excitement grew, so did the need to separate what was actually supported by the transcript from what remained part of the online conversation. Some details are clearly reflected in the source, while others are presented as reports or speculation without independent verification. The transcript confirms several key facts. Nike officially introduced Caitlin Clark's CC logo, released merchandise featuring the design, and included real interview clips from people discussing both the logo and Clark's growing influence. It also documents enthusiastic fan reactions, showing that the launch became a widely discussed topic across social media and sports media. These elements are directly supported by the source and form the foundation of the story. Beyond those confirmed details, the transcript presents a number of reported claims. These include accounts of heavy website traffic, checkout problems, rapidly increasing resale prices, and exceptionally strong demand following the release. The narration also references alleged international interest and widespread online engagement. While these reports contribute to the overall narrative, the transcript does not provide official Nike statements or independently verified data confirming the exact scale of those events. The biggest claims require even greater caution. Throughout the video, figures involving merchandise sales, website visitors, production numbers, stock market impact, and future revenue projections are presented as reports or analyst estimates rather than verified facts. Similar claims involving celebrity purchases, competitor reactions, and predictions about future product launches are also included without direct evidence in the source. They may reflect opinions or circulating reports, but they should not be treated as established facts based solely on this transcript. Making these distinctions doesn't diminish the significance of the launch, it actually strengthens the discussion. The confirmed reactions alone demonstrate that Caitlin Clark's Nike logo reveal attracted remarkable attention and sparked conversations well beyond the basketball community. At the same time, separating verified information from speculation allows viewers to evaluate the story more critically. And once the facts are clear, one final question naturally follows. What could this launch mean for Caitlin Clark, Nike, and the future of women's sports merchandising? With so much attention surrounding the launch, the conversation naturally shifted from what had already happened to what might come next. One point supported by the transcript is that Caitlin Clark's Nike logo generated significant discussion across fans, media outlets, and social platforms. That level of visibility has led many people to wonder whether future releases could attract the same kind of interest, or perhaps even more. While no one can answer that with certainty today, the launch has clearly raised expectations. The transcript also includes several projections about upcoming Caitlin Clark products, particularly the possibility of a future signature shoe. Those forecasts, including estimates about potential sales and comparisons with historic Nike launches, are presented as analyst opinions or reported claims rather than confirmed outcomes. They reflect optimism about Clark's commercial appeal, but they should be viewed as speculation until official results become available. What can be observed from the source is the broader conversation taking shape around women's basketball merchandise. The interviews featured in the transcript emphasize Clark's ability to connect with fans, and much of the online reaction focused on what her growing popularity could mean for the sport as a whole. Whether that momentum continues will depend on many factors, including future product releases, fan engagement, and Nike's long-term strategy, none of which can be determined from this launch alone. Another interesting takeaway is that expectations have now changed. After a release that generated this much discussion, every future announcement involving Caitlin Clark is likely to receive greater attention than before. Fans will naturally compare upcoming launches to this one, while media coverage will continue measuring each release against the excitement that surrounded the debut of the CC logo. That doesn't guarantee the same outcome, but it does show how a single product launch can shape expectations for everything that follows. For now, the confirmed story is straightforward. Nike introduced Caitlin Clark's official logo, fans responded with significant enthusiasm, and the launch became one of the most talked about moments surrounding women's basketball merchandise in the transcript. Everything beyond that, including future sales records, larger product launches, and long-term commercial impact, remains a matter of observation rather than certainty. The next release will ultimately determine whether this moment was the beginning of a lasting trend or simply the first chapter in a much bigger story.